I'm about to say something so painful and so shocking that I don't think anyone could predict this was humanly possible. But X-Men: The Last Stand was the better film between that and the latest X-Men installment, Dark Phoenix. Yes, I said it, and I hate that I'm even saying it. When breaking down Dark Phoenix as a film, I tried so hard to find the bright side and the positives. And even though this film isn't a total disaster, there's no denying the fact that for a beloved franchise to come to an end as we've known it, Fox's X-Men does not go out in a blaze of glory, but rather goes out with a whimper and a puff of smoke. But I'll talk about some of the positives before I break down what didn't work about this movie. The first positive thing about the movie is definitely Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. She had already won me over in X-Men Apocalypse, and this movie only proves to me more how well Sophie Turner was cast in this role and how much she could bring to this role, if only she was given a better film to shine in. But regardless of that, she does a really great job with what she is given, and I enjoyed watching her on screen despite all of the narrative flaws around her. Another thing I liked was the third act action set pieces. Now, without going into spoilers, I definitely found the third act to be pretty entertaining, and I thought that they nailed a grand majority of the scenes and action moments, and I still thought the action set pieces, though small in scale compared to other grand finales of other superhero films, I still thought they were executed very well with some great visuals. And finally, I thought that Hans Zimmer's score was exceptional, and I only wish it was made for a better movie. And that's it for all my positives. So let's break down where I felt that this movie completely missed the mark. First and foremost, we have Charles Xavier. Hands down, my greatest qualm with the script, and I have many problems with it, is how they mishandled the character of Professor X, played by James McAvoy. And Professor X is portrayed as a man seeking praise and fame for the heroic deeds performed by his X-Men, who I felt came off very unlikable, unsympathetic, and he's practically vilified in this movie in a way that felt like it came from left field, with no thoughtful development. Professor Xavier has always generally been portrayed as the Gandalf or Dumbledore of the X-Men, and that's not to say that he has to be morally perfect. They could have taken this character the direction they did, but I needed to see it develop organically that didn't feel more like a plot device in order to drive the film they created. And for the last film in this Fox franchise, they really shortchanged this beloved character from how he's been all these years, and he deserved way better. Like I said, there is little to no development in many areas of the story. It just goes from one plot point to another so quickly and so jarringly without giving us room to breathe with these characters. A perfect example is how quickly Sophie Turner's Jean Grey snaps when the Phoenix Force takes over her. All it takes is one scene until she instantly turns away from the X-Men, and it only takes a couple lines or brief moments until fellow X-Men want to kill her. Someone who they have grown with and loved for years, and now some of you want to flat out kill her. It's like we missed 20 minutes of development where Jean is taken over by the Phoenix Force, wreaks havoc, burns bridges, hurts people, and then they realize they tragically need to kill her in order to stop her and save everyone. But nope, that's not what we got. And from Jean Grey to Professor Xavier, Magneto, and even Jessica Chastain's villainous role, everything just keeps moving along for the sake of time, and characters hop around from one emotion to another because this movie is either on a tight timeline, a budget, or both. And it just boils down to a sloppy script with very, very poor pacing. They actually said on record that there were days where the directors and writers would change things in the script from the night before, and things were being updated and changed on a day-to-day basis while shooting, and that is how this movie felt. Ideas and changes being shot at the screen with little to no care, and it just felt messy and inconsistent the entire time. Also, Jessica Chastain's villain as a shape-shifting alien entity was completely underutilized, and they didn't take this part of the story nearly as far as they could have. I was actually interested in seeing this type of villain in an X-Men film because we've never had anything like this in the Fox X-Men movies before, and it could have been epic, and you just have to wonder what the fuck they were thinking in the writer's room. You have probably one of the easiest villain antagonists to showcase against our X-Men, and you just throw it away. But they also threw away many things in this film, including characters such as Mystique and Quicksilver. Just saying. Speaking about Mystique, I love Jennifer Lawrence as an actor, and I actually don't mind the drastic changes they've made in these films to make Mystique more of a good guy. And I actually like most, if not all, of her acting moments in this film. She managed to show up and give it her all, and I appreciated her presence on screen. However, the amount of laziness for Mystique's makeup is just embarrassing at this point. Also, she's only blue in this movie when she's out on the field on an X mission, and then she puts on her Jennifer Lawrence human form when she's back at the school around other mutants. But why? It's like she treats her natural form as a mutant, one that she proudly embraces in past films, and she treats it as a uniform at this point. Why change when you're back at home, surrounded by your family and other mutants? It just made no sense. And I realized Jennifer Lawrence didn't like the makeup process, but come the fuck on. This movie also felt really small, which was a similar problem with X-Men: The Last Stand. And with such a huge and important story, such as the Dark Phoenix, this is the X-Men story you simply can't contain. And even more, if this is your grand finale in this particular X-Men franchise, with all these beloved characters we've been following for nearly 20 years, then you really need to pull out all the stops. And it's just so heartbreaking to see this franchise end on such a low note in such a small way. Dark Phoenix isn't the worst X-Men film, but it's definitely a far cry from the best. That being said, I still give credit where credit is due to Sophie Turner, who manages to carry this film the best she can, and her performance and some of the film's visuals and action scenes towards the end make for some entertaining moments in general. But in the end, there's no denying that this final film in the Fox X-Men series missed the mark in far too many ways than it should have. I'm going to give Dark Phoenix a C-. And that's my review of Dark Phoenix. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them down below. And thank you all again for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Ryan Bamey, signing off. Bye, everyone.